Hi everyone, my name is Pranati. I am the founder of the Science Talk, and today we have with us a very special guest, and that is the brilliant person who wrote Lessons in Chemistry, Bonnie Garmus. Bonnie Garmus is here. Oh my God. Hi, Bonnie. Good morning.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. Oh my God, oh my God. Okay, I have so many questions. But I'm just gonna compose myself and ask you questions in in a more composed way. So I'm wondering now a few episodes of the Lessons in Chemistry starring the Captain Marvel, and yes, I know her name is Brie Larson, but for me, she's always Captain Marvel. Um, how is it? How is the show available now on Apple TV? How is it different? Is it different from what you had imagined when you were writing?
Yeah, it's very different, but that's how, a series is quite different from a book. So with a book, you can imagine everything that you want to imagine, and the reader imagines everything in their head. And Hollywood does their version. And so all the imagination is from, it's now they're just showing you what they think. So it's a very different medium. It's less interactive, than a book would be. But yeah, no, I didn't work on the series, so I don't really have I don't have any skin in that game. I mean, they took the book, but I didn't really work on it at all.
Okay, okay. And also with 6:30 and the environment, like with the labs and the lab in the kitchen. When I was reading the book, of course, in my head there was some sort of an image. It's a visual, like you visualize. That's how the stories that you read are. And so is there anything that was like, oh, actually, that's really cool. That's very similar to how I had imagined. Maybe the rowing, I don't know.
Well, the rowing was wrong. So it's so funny because rowers everywhere were so excited to see rowing represented. And then no, they, yeah, the erging and stuff is incorrectly done. And the rowing, they put her in what they call a sculling boat, 2 oars instead of a rowing shell with 8 oars. So that's a little easier to row. So the whole point of the book is to do something really hard. And so sculling is can be a little easier. Actually, you can flip a scull pretty well. But let's see, I think the dog is maybe really different in the series from what he is in the book. So that's not at all what I visualized. But, again, when you sell your book to Hollywood, they get to do whatever they want. The thing that I thought Brie really carried across, though, was this attitude of being this woman who was not going to who's not going to give in easily to what society wants her to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I also love the fact that at the end of the last line in the trailer is children set the table, your mother needs a moment to herself. I love that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rowing was probably they had to take some cinematic liberties to make it slightly relatable or something. I don't know. I'm sure they have their reasons for doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. And speaking of Brie Larson, right? So I read in the previous interviews, or I heard in previous interviews of yours, and with Brie, the interviews that she did for Lessons in Chemistry. I was surprised to know that Brie got the rights to the book, if I'm saying it correctly, and she got the copy 2 years, almost 2 years before. So while you were writing, no, that's not true.
No.
So tell me the story.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
No. So yeah, I don't know. I keep hearing she says something akin to that on television. It's not quite correct. The book had been it was already getting a lot of attention. There were 38 studios in Hollywood who bid on it. Brie was only one of 38. So, and then there were 8 studios who actually made a final offer. And so I had to choose between those 8. The book had already been picked up at Frankfurt Book Fair, and there have been these really big auctions for it, which I was, astounded by and shocked by. So, for instance, in the UK, there were 16 publishing houses trying to get it. In the United States, there were 8 that were, and they all had to come in at a certain number to even participate in the auction. And so it was really unexpected. And then when the American auction was going on and I was trying to pick an editor there, my agent said, you're getting a lot of attention from Hollywood and I had to get you a film agent. And I said, well, how much attention? She said, you have 38 offers from Hollywood. All the scouts have read it. So she said, this is unusual, and it is unusual, it really was. But no, Brie was not the first person to write it, and they had no influence on the book whatsoever. They're not allowed to. But I did go with Brie's company specifically for the writer, who was Susanna Grant. Susanna Grant wrote Erin Brockovich, and I'm a huge fan of hers. And so the way I ended up going with Aggregate Films and Brie Larson was, I love Brie, but was honestly mainly because I'm a writer, because of Susanna Grant. But unfortunately, she had to drop off the project early on. So we went through a lot of writers. They went through a lot of writers. And I think they went through 3 showrunners. And then, and so that's why I think there's a little bit of disconnect sometimes in the series. But like I say, when you give your book away to Hollywood, they get free license to do whatever they want. And to me, that's okay, because they're creative people too, and they are dealing with a completely different medium.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. That is quite interesting because okay, now that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you did mention in the interviews that I watched of yours that there was this auction, and it's good. It's quite interesting for me that your book was also auctioned at the Frankfurt Book Fair, because I'm based in Germany. I'm based in Mannheim, which is like 30 minutes from Frankfurt. So that is so. How does this work? So this was at what stage was the manuscript back? I guess back then there was the manuscript that was auctioned, right? So what is this process, and is it like the final manuscript? And how do you get, like, how did these 38 different studios and 16 in the UK and so on and so forth, how did they get their eyes on the manuscript, which is not even published? How does that happen?
These are really great questions. And, before I was in this, I would not have known at all. So what happens is your agent, if you're lucky enough, your agent decides that the book is good enough to be auctioned, to go to Frankfurt Book Fair. The book itself goes with your agent. Except mine was during COVID, so nobody went. So it was all online. And they present, all the agents around the world present what they think is their best offering that year. And I've had 2 friends whose books were sent to Frankfurt because they get a lot of attention if you are able to kind of put them up there. And neither of them got any offers whatsoever. It's not a guarantee. So she sent mine. And what happens is, and I had no idea this is how it works, the book goes to scouts. They go to these scouts who are readers for all these editors all over the place. And the scouts say, wow, I think my editor at this house would like this. The scouts work for maybe 8 or 9 editors. And so scouts kept reading the book. They read very, very quickly. And then instantly my agent called me and said, wow, the scouts are on this and it's just going like wildfire. You're getting a huge response to this. And so sure enough, the scouts immediately recommend that certain editors read it. Those editors really have to read it within about a day. That's all they get.
Oh, wow.
It's just like this. It's very, very competitive, especially if there's an auction. So they have to read it very quickly. They have to put in their best bid in order to stay in it. And some people, have to back out because the bids keep going up. And then there's a floor, and then you decide, can I meet the floor and stay in, or do I need to back out? And so that's what happened in all my auctions around the world, is people would bid, but if they weren't high enough to get on the floor, then they were kicked out. It's different in Hollywood, where I had those 38 studios who contacted me. I ended up only talking to 8 different studios. And there were a variety of actresses who were really interested in playing Elizabeth Zott. But Brie Larson called me on Zoom and said, I want to executive produce and I want to play Elizabeth Zott. And when you have somebody who's won an Academy Award for Best Actress, that means that there's a really high chance that the book will get made into a movie or a series. Because believe it or not, when books get optioned by Hollywood, 98 of them are never produced. And so in the back of my head, I thought, it's really unusual what's happening. And I'm, with Brie's power and name behind this and her belief in the book, that will be really, really helpful. And then the added addition of Susanna Grant as the writer, for me, that was just a home run. But then, as I said, poor Susanna Grant had to drop off, so that didn't work out for me. But yeah, no, it was really weird. But no, so in Hollywood, I spoke to 8 different teams. I spoke to the Game of Thrones people and the Mad Men people, and all these different people who had worked on these big series, and they were all so enthusiastic. They're all lovely. Some people wanted to make a movie. Some people wanted to make a reoccurring series. Some people wanted to make limited series. And I was really attracted to limited series only. And so that's also what they wanted. And so I felt like it was a match made in heaven.
That sounds really cool. And it's a complete different world with the scouts and the editors, and wow, that is fascinating. So it's basically it's a combination of luck and really good story, and from the grassroots, the scouts being like, no, this is the one. You got to read it as an editor, and then the auction process as well. So you mentioned there was the bidding and the auction process. Is this then like the editors are like, okay, this is because when I hear auction in my mind, it's the art auctions, like, okay,
sold.
Exactly. Is it like that, or is it as dramatic as that, or is it more like just in front of the computer and you see the number going higher and higher and higher? How does that?
I think what they do is the publisher, or rather my agent, if there's a lot of interest, she says, if you want to be in the auction, you have to meet this level of commitment in terms of, how much advance you're going to give my writer, or how much you're going to commit in other ways. And so there is this floor that they create. And that way other publishers would go, oh, I can't do that. I've got all these other books I'm going to be promoting. I'm out. And so the ones who really think, no, I've got to get this book, they stay in it. And and like I said, there's a floor. And at the end, for instance, I think in the American auction, I think we had 6 people who all offered the same amount. And so it was 8. It came down to me interviewing every single editor and deciding who I wanted to work with from there.
Okay, interesting. That is it's a good problem to have, right? Like you have 8 editors and like Game of Thrones and Mad Men, and like, okay, that is. And I assume at this point, when you're speaking with these 8 different teams, Apple TV, it wasn't decided which network it will go on. Will it be Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon, or was that already decided? Or there was like...
No, that So that's the very last part. So I thought, once you get Hollywood to sign on, that was really the hard part. But no, the studio then needs to pitch it to all the streaming services. And that's really hard. They had a really hard job in front of them. And I know that Brie helped be one of the people who pitched it, for which I'm, forever grateful. But just because Hollywood signs your book and just because they've made a commitment to make it doesn't mean that someone's going to pick it up. So the streamers may say, all of them may say no. I was lucky because I think there was a little bit of a battle between some of the streamers, but I wasn't privy to it because my agent wasn't involved with that. Actually, my film agent was, but my book agent wasn't. And I just sort of backed away because it's not my territory. Yeah, I didn't want to get in there and mess things up. But yeah, then Apple TV said, no, we're going to do it. And they're the ones who won the bid.
That is excellent. It's also interesting to know that just because the book rights are bought or the book is licensed by the studios does not mean that it will become a reality. Like there would be a show or a movie out of it. That is quite interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many. Yeah, there are so many steps where things can just stall or stop. That is, oh, you must be so happy. That is really, really, it's, and because I am a scientist, right? So for me, it's like I'm a material scientist. So for me, this is like chemistry is very close to material science. So for me, this is like amazing. This is really cool. And so, yeah, so I also heard in one of your interviews that like one of the catalysts or one of the push for you to write this book was at your previous job as a freelancer, you were a copywriter. And this situation, I think every woman has to face this situation probably multiple times where you pitch an idea, you have a groundbreaking idea or any sort of idea, and that is completely dismissed, and some other man at the table is then saying the same thing. And then it is like, oh my God, such a brilliant idea. You have solved the mystery of the universe. That's how it is celebrated. What I would like to ask you is this happening to you less now, or is it still happening? Because I mean, you are a superstar now. I mean, I hope it's not happening.
I think it's always going to happen. I think no matter what, someone is always going to try to take credit for your work. Even with the book, that's still true. And I think, it's all. I think women run into this a lot more than men will ever run into this. But I think anytime you have any kind of success, someone else will try to claim credit for it. And again, I think mostly women have this problem.
Yeah, it's okay. I was hoping you were gonna say that now it doesn't happen to me anymore. So
no, unfortunately, I'm still out there.
So that people like me who are not as famous as you yet, or not as seen as, like, not as celebrated, have some hope that, okay, once I reach that, then it won't stop happening. But yeah, wishful thinking. That is that is just, well,
but the good thing about it though is that as you get used to defending your work and realizing that you can say no to people and you can make them listen, and just say, I don't accept what you're saying, or this is actually my work, or something like that. Eventually, the more you repeat it, the more they cannot refute it. So that's what I've learned.
The more you repeat it, the more they can't refute it. I should get a t-shirt saying that. That's a t-shirt for sure. That is very cool. And a little bit about the process of getting the manuscript. accepted, let's say. I also heard in your interviews that it was not accepted 98 times, which is
Well, not this manuscript. That was a different book.
oh, that was a different book. Okay. Okay. So then usually with the scientific papers, you often change. So you submit to a journal, and when it is not accepted, then when you go to a different journal, you tweak it a little bit. Did you have to change that? Did you do that? Please tell me you did not have to change the manuscript 98 times, not the lessons in
Oh,
chemistry.
no. No. So my first book that I wrote was really long, and I made a mistake about that. You don't want to write a huge fat novel when you're unknown, because huge fat novels are really expensive to produce, and nobody wants to haul around a big book unless you're a known author. And so I got rejected based on length. I couldn't get anyone to even read that book. And so when I started Lessons in Chemistry, I decided that I would do my very best, because I was informed the book would never, ever be picked up from a debut author at that length. So when I started Lessons in Chemistry, I thought I'm going to keep this to 350 pages. It's 400. But I realized that I'd made the mistake and I needed to write something much shorter. So I did. But I am a copywriter. All I do is rewrite. That's been my job for a long time now. So I'm very experienced at writing, and I'm experienced writing for audiences. I don't write for fun, and so, so for me, writing a novel is it's part of my job. I've written a lot of speeches and things, and sorry, I have a frog in my throat. And so I know how to structure a story. I know how to do an arc. I do for myself for Lessons in Chemistry. I did at least 18 drafts on my own. That would be minimum for me. When I turned it over to my agent, she wanted 3 more drafts. She just had little ideas like bring out the daughter more, or it's not like people rewrite what you're doing. They just say, what about if you made this character stronger? Or for instance, she said, I want to hear more from Mad. And I said, okay. So I put that in. And you get, it's kind of nice because you get these ideas from other people in the industry. And that's been really helpful. I mean, I didn't take all of their suggestions because I know what I'm trying to do as a writer. But it's nice having the input. So I did 3 drafts for my agent, and I did 2 drafts for my editors, but honestly, it was really just 1 draft, because the first draft, they kind of sent me off in the wrong direction. And then there was some regret. So I had to redo it again. But so it's really just 1 draft. It was really pretty. The book was pretty much done by the time I got to Frankfurt.
Okay. That is very important to know. Also, because there are also a bunch of videos out there which claim that your book Lessons in Chemistry was rejected about 100 times.
I know. I don't know why that keeps popping up, because I've said it 1,000 times that is not true. And it really upsets my agent, as it should, because she signed me without the book being finished. She signed it on the basis of 10,000 words.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, I hope this interview then is more like taken as the gospel truth, because it is definitely coming from you. But it's probably also it's a nice twist, right? Like underdog. Her book was rejected 100 times, and that's
I know. I keep having to correct people. It's so funny because I know it does sound like the ultimate underdog story, and honestly, it was because I was an underdog, but it was my own doing. I wrote too long of a book.
Yeah, I remember.
I made a mistake.
Yeah, I think I heard you say 700 pages, and no one's going to read a 700 pages book by a debut author.
Yeah.
That's also so if anyone watching who's writing a book, make sure to keep the page limit to 350, and then with the buffer it might go to 400, but that's okay.
Yeah. Good advice.
Because, I mean, the scouts have to read it, the editors have to read it within 24 hours. So
Yeah.
if it is a debut author, the already seeing that big bunch of pages is gonna be a bit of a turn on. But yeah, good tips here as well. Thank you, Rohan.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Also, I watched a lot of your interviews. You taught yourself, or you learned chemistry on the side while you were still working as a copywriter.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a scientist now?
I am such a fake. No, I'm not a scientist. I'm not as smart as you guys. Though I have to tell you, I'm speaking tonight in front of the Royal Society of Chemistry, so I better get it right. I think, as a copywriter, you never, ever, ever get hired to write what you know. And so for me, learning chemistry, it was just, once again, doing what I did at work. But it was hard. My God, chemistry is hard. So it was a lot harder because I had to buy a textbook from the 50s and I had to teach myself old science and I couldn't Google it reliably. But, I was so glad, even though I was struggling with it, to be honest, I was so glad that I learned what I did, because I would have never fully understood how chemistry is us. It's our humanity. It rules our lives. It is in everything we do or touch or see or talk about. It's who we are. And so for me, coming away from that, it gave me so much more depth into the book about how chemistry applies to everything. I'm also not a cook, so I also had to research cooking because I don't like to cook. So I know people think, oh my God, you must be a great cook. No, I'm not. But that's the whole beauty of having imagination, and then you can do research, and then you can create all these characters in your head, and and they're wonderful, and they want to help, and they want to participate. So for me, that part of it is the joy, is learning. You get to learn all this new stuff all the time.
Yeah, it sounds a bit also like being an actor, right? I presume that is how it is, that if you have to play a chemist, a scientist, you have to learn. But I think in your case, it's even because you're a writer, you need a bit more detail. You need to inform yourself. And that's quite interesting that you're not a cook. Oh, wow. Okay. This book
I know.
Yeah.
It's from my imagination. Well, but I have so much respect for scientists. I have so much respect for people who cook well. And I think that these are, especially science has been underplayed, in my opinion, for too long. The importance of science in our world and the importance of women in science in our world has been just absolutely swept aside, especially historically. So I was very interested in making Elizabeth Zott a chemist because yes, that's exactly what she was. That's exactly who she would have been. And, unapologetic and really smart. And I really want to celebrate those women who weren't allowed, not only the housewives who weren't allowed to do whatever they wanted to do, but those women scientists, from Rosalind Franklin on, who were not allowed the credit that they deserved. So I really, and then of course, cooking. I mean, I've talked to all these chefs and they're like, well, what do you like to make?
Books. I
know, I told BBC Food I like to eat peanut butter from the jar. I mean, bad.
Well, it is comfort.
I know.
So, okay. Yeah. Also, you also shared that the fire trucks had to come like twice or so because.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I didn't have all the safety measures set up in my flat that I know it's bad, that I should have. And I did kind of get a little carried away. I got really into the science behind the book, and I really wanted to understand at a more basic level exactly how this stuff operated. So yes, I had 2 fires that required assistance, and the fire brigade was very kind both times. They're very helpful. They came very rapidly, and yeah, no, it all worked out, but I am embarrassed to say that, yeah, I set our flat on fire a couple times.
Uh, almost, almost, like almost set it on fire. And I was really, it was also quite, I had a good chuckle because when I started doing research, um, fire brigade had to come like twice as well. And that was because I was cooking, and I grew up in India, I moved to Germany, and I did not know how to cook. And the systems are completely different. In India, we have gas, and here we have the plates in Germany. And in the first lab I was in, this was in 2011, my flat was on the same floor as the labs. So in the research institute, where so the fire safety was just next level. And I was trying
Oh,
popcorn. I was trying to make popcorn, and the cooking plates were here, and the fire alarm was here. And in India, we do not have fire alarms, in case anyone knows or doesn't know. And oh my God. And this happened during the week. And then the second time was on the weekend. And then I was told by the director of the institute that if it happens third time, I would have to pay like 500 euros because the fire was.
it's reassuring to hear that from you because you are actually a scientist. So thank you for telling me that story. I mean, what you guys do is pretty amazing. It is pretty amazing.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of fun. So, but going back to your point of definitely highlighting the women scientists or women chemists, in this case, I think that is very, very important, because women in research even now are not given the credit that is due. And I'm sure the book, the lessons in chemistry, it's such a beautiful cover. This book, and also now the Apple TV, the limited series that helps or encourages kids and parents and everyone to go seek out the women chemists, like find out the different women in women scientists, not just women, but just for science. This is just great. For science, this is great. You have done a fantastic job, and on behalf of scientists, I would like to thank you for.
Well, I think scientists, scientists pretty much save us every single day of the week. Without scientists, where would we be? We wouldn't have survived COVID. We wouldn't have survived much without science. So I'm grateful to science, and anything I can do to promote it is what I'm most interested in.
That is so cool. Thank you very much, Bonnie. I have taken a lot of your time, and you have been super generous with your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Oh, is there anything else while we are still recording? Is there anything else you would like to say, talk about? If you have any questions for me, I mean, I know you probably have a meeting in minutes, but
where are you from in India?
I'm from the center of India. The city is called Nagpur. So if Delhi is here and Mumbai is here, and you just at the intersection, if you draw the lines.
Oh, okay. Because I'm going to India at the end of January, beginning of February, to Mumbai and to Jaipur.
To Jaipur. Oh wow. Oh wow.
I know, I'm super excited.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool. Jaipur is gorgeous. It's the pink city, the food is amazing, the visuals are amazing. Oh my God, Jaipur. You're gonna love Jaipur. It's so beautiful. Oh my God. Oh my
good.
God. Are you going there for the book festival? The literary
Yes.
festival? Of course you are. Oh,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited, but I'm also excited to talk to women in India, about what's going on in India with women politics and things, because I think India is one of those countries that is, I feel like women there are strong and they're speaking out a lot more. And so I'm really looking forward to going and speaking with women there.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love it. I'm sure you're gonna love it. And also we have elections coming up in India, I think next year. So now is the right time to
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Thank you very much, Bonnie,
Thank you.
for your time, and thank you again for writing the Lessons in Chemistry book. Thank you on behalf of all the scientists, all the women scientists around the world, yeah, cannot wait to see where Elizabeth Zott probably goes next. Is there coming?
I don't know. Anyway, but thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.